Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams happening in February 2025. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for SCS at TCS. So let's look at the session plan. First things first, as usual, I will be taking you through general feedback, thereby highlighting what your shortcomings are. And at the same time, I will also mention what you need to do to overcome each of these shortcomings. And then I will direct your attention towards um, discussion of a mock exam concerning your E3 syllabus. Then I will also be conducting a Q&A session towards the very end, thereby taking steps to address all your questions and concerns. So before we get into the nitty-gritties, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming workshop which we have scheduled for you, which is going to be your final workshop, which is happening next Saturday at the same time, in which I'm going to share last-minute tips with you to make sure that you walk into your exam with a high level of confidence and a high level of positivity, because if you believe in your skill set at your exam, you will come up with some highly successful answers. So all these things will be addressed or shared with you at the final workshop, which is happening next Saturday. And I hope you attend it without fail, as you have done across the 7 webinars and workshops which we have conducted so far. So, talking or directing your attention towards general feedback, I have to, share the same things which I shared in the previous session as well. In certain instances, I found that you have deflected from the requirement when developing your answers. So, as I mentioned earlier, this happens whenever you do not have a good understanding of what you are expected to achieve. This is quite normal, especially when you're operating in a time-pressured environment. Even though you will have some type of an understanding of what you're expected to achieve, when you keep moving forward, there's a tendency for you to deflect from the requirement. So with the intention of avoiding this, I suggested that you need to stick to the answering technique, which we have highlighted in the third webinar rather. So in it, I said that before you develop your answer plan, you need to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simpler form, primarily with the intention of gaining a good and clear understanding of each requirement. And at the same time, whilst developing the answer plan, always refer back to a simplified requirement to see whether you are headed in the correct direction. And I also spotted issues with answering technique because some of you are still including an introductory paragraph when developing your answers, which is totally unnecessary. Always remember that the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So when you are trying to respond to your boss, you will never take steps to come up with an introductory paragraph which consists of pre-seen information or unseen information. So this is highly inefficient. Get rid of this issue, because if you reiterate pre-seen or unseen info within your answer, you are not going to get any marks. Instead, if you are bringing in some information from the pre-seen, you have to do it with the intention of adding value to your answer. There's absolutely no point of bringing in irrelevant information from the pre-seen. And as I mentioned earlier, there's absolutely no point of reiterating unseen info, especially when your CFO or some other board member has they themselves had shared this information with you. So there's no point of you reiterating unseen information within your answer. And also, I spotted that there's a tendency amongst some students to include information that is irrelevant to the scenario. This happens again in a time-pressured environment because you don't have enough time to go through the scenario or the reference material over and over. So when this is the case, sometimes you would misinterpret or misunderstand information presented in your unseen. If so, based on it, you'd develop answers which are not aligned with the scenario or the unseen information. And on top of that, when students are clueless of what to include within the answers, there's a tendency to introduce new information, and based on this new information, develop arguments. If you do so, although you are developing a certain answer, or you are coming up with a certain answer point, you won't get any marks, primarily given the fact that you are basing your arguments on information which you yourself has invented, or you are basing your arguments which are not mentioned within each unseen. So avoid this. If you run out of ideas, don't try to invent your own information. Try to stick to your capabilities. Because when you are responding to your boss, if you since you cannot come up with answers, if you try to bring in information which is unnecessary, or which is not related to what appears within your the email which your boss shared with you, then your boss is going to be confused as to why you included irrelevant information in your response. So don't do it. If you run out of ideas, just move forward. Don't try to come up with unnecessary or irrelevant answers which are based on irrelevant or novel information. And also, when marking your papers, I spotted issues with theory knowledge and application. So as I've mentioned throughout this webinar and workshop series, it's essential that you gain a sound understanding of each syllabus area covered under, or theoretical concept covered under your E3, F3, and P3 syllabi. If not, if you end up misinterpreting theoretical elements, you won't get any marks at your exam. And on top of that, even if you know your theories, if you don't know how to apply these theories, considering the information at hand, then you won't get any marks as well. So that's exactly why it's essential that you stick to our 3-step study process, which is to attempt a mock exam. That is when you understand your shortcomings. Then focus your attention towards watching the master classes. This is when you'd learn theory and improve application. And the 3rd step is to redevelop answer plans, thereby testing your knowledge and trying to understand whether you have gained something by watching the master classes, whether you have learned your theory, and whether you have improved your application skills. So by sticking to this 3-step process, you can overcome issues with theoretical knowledge and application, and at the same time, you can overcome each of these issues as well. So, let me quickly take you through 1 or 2 answer scripts, thereby highlighting the issues which I mentioned right now. And when I share these answer scripts with you, I hope you'd gain a better understanding of what I was talking about a while back. So I want to direct your attention towards SCS Mock Exam 4, which we have developed, and I'm going to direct your attention towards section number 1. So I'm going to read through this question and then take you through one of the answers developed by one of you. And I will also share the feedback which I've provided with the intention of ensuring that you understand what you are expected to achieve at your exam, and also with the intention of highlighting how you can go wrong at your when attempting your mock exams. All right, so section number 1, the time allocation is 60 minutes. The CFO asks you to meet him urgently. Upon meeting Martin, he hands over an excerpt of board meeting minutes to you. Okay, our IT staff has identified that there has been a data breach within the company. We are yet to determine how this has occurred and what type of business operations are affected by the breach. So we are exposed to a data breach, and we are clueless about how this happened. What I know is that this is going to be extremely detrimental for business and reputation. As per the finance manager, the share price has plummeted since the news about the breach has gone public. So we are exposed to a data breach. We are clueless about why this happened. And because of this data breach, our share price has plummeted. Please go through the meeting minutes, see reference material 1, and compile a report at your earliest covering the following areas. So let's try to figure out what appears within the reference material. This is an excerpt taken from board meeting minutes tied to the drop in share price. Recently, Rotomyne has faced a massive setback. The data breach has occurred within the company. The data breach that occurred within the company has been making headlines in major news outlets. So the news is out. And this had caused widespread concern among investors and stakeholders alike. This situation has taken a turn for the worse as the stock price of the company has been falling rapidly. The initial drop of 10% in the first hour has now extended over the course of 2 days and shows no sign of stopping. So this is extremely bad for us because as per what's highlighted within the pre-scene, the share price has plummeted across a number of years. And because of this issue, the share price had further decreased. As the company struggles to understand how this breach occurred, it has become increasingly clear that a swift and effective response is necessary. the CEO has already taken a proactive stance, recognizing the need to restore confidence in the company's operations. The head of IT has been instructed to work tirelessly to identify the root cause of the breach and implement measures to prevent future occurrences. Yes, that's the way forward. Despite these efforts to rectify the issue, the board remains concerned about the potential ramifications of this event. A continued drop in the share price could lead to a significant decline in revenue and investor confidence, yes, and this would ultimately put Rotomyne in a vulnerable position with long-term implications for the future of the company. So these are the type of issues which were exposed to due to the data breach. So let's look at your first requirement. You are supposed to explain the strategic implications of the share price plummeting on Rotomyne's board and the company as a whole. So what is this requirement? As per this requirement, you are supposed to explain the implications faced by the board of the company and the company as a whole due to the drop in share price. So the share price has dropped, and how will this share price drop impact our company as a whole, as well as how will it impact our board? So that's what your requirement is. So let's try to figure out how this student had approached this question and what type of an answer this individual has developed. So as I've mentioned in here, the student has mentioned about a decrease in market capitalization. Yes, it impacts our company, so that is accurate. And funding, when it comes to raising financing, we will be exposed to certain type of limitations. I won't say that it's 100% accurate. However, due to this share price drop, we will be faced with funding limitations, especially tied to raising equity finance in the future. And after that, when considering the first 2 points, it is totally aligned with the requirement, because you was expected to highlight how the share price drop is going to impact the company as well as our board. So the first 2 points highlight how this share price is going to impact our company. But from the third point onwards, this student has mentioned irrelevant information, or had come up with irrelevant answers which are not aligned with the requirement. So the student has mentioned about our revenues decreasing. There's absolutely no point of reiterating what's highlighted within the scenario, as I mentioned earlier, or what's highlighted within the unseen. So because it's primarily mentioned that, it's specifically rather mentioned that we will be exposed to a decline in revenue and investor confidence. So there's no point of reiterating what was mentioned within the unseen. And on top of that, rather than highlighting the implications faced by the company and the board due to the data breach, due to the share price drop, this student has directed his or her attention towards a drop in his or her attention towards what we will face due to a data breach. So that is not your requirement. Your requirement is to highlight what we will have to face, what our board and the company will have to face due to a drop in share price. But the student has mentioned what the company will face due to the data breach, which is, as I mentioned earlier, totally irrelevant to the requirement. So this is one of the shortcomings, as I mentioned earlier, faced by many students. So I've highlighted that in here as well. The answer requires significant refinement. It appears that you have misunderstood the requirement, as most of your response focuses on the issue faced by the company due to the data breach. So the student has highlighted the issues faced by the company due to the data breach, rather than addressing the actual requirement, which is to explain the implications faced by both the board and the company as a result of the data breach and due to the share price drop. Okay, so that's what I wanted to highlight. So the student has started the answer accurately, but deviated halfway through the answer. This happens when you're operating in a time pressured environment. So that's exactly why, whilst developing the answer plan, it's essential that you refer back to the simplified requirement. I said that before you develop the answer plan, you are supposed to simplify the requirement in your own words. So it's essential that you refer back to a simplified requirement whilst developing the answer plan, to always check and see whether you are headed in the correct direction. Okay, so that's the first point which I wanted to highlight. Then with regards to the second part. The second part is to explain the reputational risks faced by Rotomyne due to the data breach. What type of reputational risks are we exposed to due to this data breach? Again, the student has started the answer accurately. So both these 2 points are totally aligned with the requirement. Because of this data breach, we are exposed to a loss of investor confidence, which exposes us to reputational risks. And we are known for innovation, and this will impact our innovative image in an adverse manner. However, in the third point, this student has mentioned that following the data breach, negative media attention can amplify public perception issues. News stories highlighting the breach may paint Rotomyne as negligent, leading to further erosion of trust among customers and investors. So I've mentioned the fact that it's already mentioned that the news is public, and because of that, the share price has plummeted by 10%. So when this information is presented in your unseen, what is the point of reiterating the same information within your answer? Because the CEO who shared this information, who shared the excerpt of board meeting minutes with you, is already aware of the fact that due to this breach, the share price has dropped. It had gone public. The news had gone public. Because of that, the share price had dropped by 10% within the first 2 hours. So there's absolutely no point of you reiterating the same information because it does not add any value to your answer. So that's exactly what I've highlighted in here. Reiterating this information does not add value to your answer, as it is already stated in the scenario. So there's no point of reiterating the unseen information or reiterating pre-seen information unless and otherwise it adds value to your answer. And also looking at the fourth point, 1, 2, 3, 4, looking at the fourth point, this student has highlighted about how this issue will impact our customer relationships, and the breach can strain existing relationships with customers. Clients may question Rotomyne's ability to safeguard their data, leading to cancel contracts and reduce business engagement. So similar information is highlighted within the second point as well. So again, as I mentioned earlier, there's absolutely no point of repeating the same point within the answer, because when you do so, it indicates the fact that you were struggling to find answers or you ran out of answers. So because of that, you had resorted to simply, invent a point with the, and when you're trying to invent the point, what you have done is you have simply reiterated what we have highlighted previously, because there's a mention about the shift in perception can impact customer loyalty and deter potential customers who prioritize security and reliability in their business partners. The same point is highlighted in here. Okay, so there's no point of reiterating the same information twice. And moving towards section number 3, compounding the issues at hand, the risk committee has reported that we are facing additional risks. Please refer to the attached risk report, see reference material 2. So let's look at the second reference material. I'm not going to take you through or read through this entire set of information provided under reference material 2. I'm going to simply explain what this is about in a nutshell. So, as per what's shared with you, 2 different types of risks are highlighted, which are tied to political and regulation risk, which appears within your risk report. And on top of that, the second risk is tied to resource constraint risks, again, which is highlighted within your risk report. So these are the 2 different risks which we are dealing with. But let's look at the answer provided by this individual who attempted this mock exam. So the first point is about crisis management, which has nothing to do with what's highlighted within these 2 points, within these 2 risks which appear within your reference material. And the second point is about appointing a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Can we overcome political and regulation risks by appointing a CTO, or can we overcome resource constraints by appointing a CTO? You can't. And looking at the third point, rapid public statement for reassurance. Yes, it is aligned with the risks highlighted in here. We can, when dealing with stakeholders, we have to provide some type of reassurance. But what's highlighted in the answer is not aligned with what's highlighted within this reference material. And the same could be said about the fourth point as well. The student has highlighted internal audit responsibilities, thereby asking to assess the risks and impacts and likelihood in our IT processes. Political regulation and resource constraint risks has nothing to do with IT processes. So why had this student come up with points which are totally irrelevant, or answers which are totally irrelevant to the requirement? Because this student has not probably, read the second reference material. So at your examination, always check whether always read through the scenario properly. Then you'd know how many reference material you have to go through. In each section, you will see at least one reference material, but in certain sections, you will see 2 or 3 reference material as well. So if that is the case, you have to check all reference material before you finalize your answers, before you develop your answer plans. So that's exactly what I've highlighted in here. The type of answers, so risk mitigation strategies highlighted in here is tied to managing a data breach, not tied to managing political and regulation risk or overcoming resource constraints. So these are the type of shortcomings which I wanted to highlight and share with you. And also, I want to direct your attention towards mock exam 5, one of the questions which appeared within mock exam 5. And based on the answer provided by a student, I will explain, where the student has gone wrong and how you can avoid these type of shortcomings at your real examination. The CFO, section number 1, the time allocation is 60 minutes. The CFO meets you at your workstation and hands you an excerpt taken from board minutes. Last week at a battery technology conference highlighting advancements in sodium-ion technology, the potential for diversifying into mining battery-grade sodium chloride became apparent to Rotomyne. Okay, so we are contemplating about diversifying into sodium mining. Informal discussions with board members revealed a range of opinions on the diversification opportunity into sodium mining, particularly regarding its potential return on investment. While some directors are enthusiastic, others express concerns about the uncertainties associated with sodium-ion batteries. For further insights, please refer to the attached board minutes. So the board members, some of them like this diversification, some of them are skeptical about this because of the uncertainties tied to sodium-ion technology. So if we are to diversify into sodium mining, we need to make sure that sodium-ion batteries or sodium-ion technology picks up, the demand for it picks up in the future. If not, if we blindly diversify into sodium mining, thinking that sodium-ion technology or sodium-ion batteries, the demand for these technologies is going to pick up without being certain about it, then we might be wasting our money. So that's exactly what a certain set of our board members are saying. We have to be conversant about the demand for sodium-ion batteries or sodium-ion technology in the future if we are to go for this diversification. If not, we should not pursue this related diversification. So that's what some of our board members are saying. So let's look at what appears within the reference material, which is, as I mentioned earlier, an extract taken from board meeting minutes. It goes as diversification into sodium chloride mining. The CFO highlighted the potential of diversifying Rotomyne's operations into sodium mining. The proposal involves exploring and extracting sodium-rich deposits and establishing infrastructure for processing battery-grade sodium. So we are trying to pursue related diversification, and this proposal involves exploring and extracting sodium-rich deposits and establishing infrastructure to process battery-grade sodium. This move allows Rotomyne to expand its client base and capture early market share in sodium-ion batteries used for renewable energy storage. However, the production director expressed concerns about the complexities of sodium mining, including the need for new extraction and processing techniques. So we have to make investments in which are tied to extraction and processing techniques, equipment and retraining, which could impact current lithium mining operations if not managed carefully. So if we go for this diversification and if we don't manage affairs appropriately, it will impact our current lithium mining operations. The non-executive chair warned of the risks associated with entering an untested market, noting that the battery industry has not fully committed to sodium-ion technology. So we are not too sure about the demand is going to increase concerning the sodium-ion technology or concerning sodium ion batteries. Furthermore, demand for sodium ion could fluctuate as competing technologies emerge, especially since sodium ion battery technology is still underdeveloped. So this is the uncertainty in the market. This is why some of our board members are against this diversification. The CEO emphasized that sodium ion technology is evolving with frequent updates from research institutions, presenting a risk that demand might not align with Rotomyne's projections. Market leaders have been cautious, suggesting that further advancements may be needed for widespread adoption. In fact, sodium ion batteries are expected to be commercially available only by 2030. So there's a lot of uncertainty. It will take 5 years for us to know whether the demand for sodium ion batteries is going to pick up or not. So this exposes us to a lot of uncertainties, and tied to these uncertainties, we are exposed to a certain set of risks. To address these challenges, the CFO shared that Rotomyne has potential collaboration opportunities with leading sodium ion research institutions, technology providers, and battery manufacturers. These partners could offer technical support, specialized knowledge, and joint research, accelerating Rotomyne's entry into the market. He argued that entering now could position Rotomyne as a pioneering player, while delaying might lead to missed advantage if demand for sodium ion batteries rises. So the CFO is all positive for this diversification, whereas the CEO, the production director, and the non-executive chair has raised their concerns. Okay, so let's look at what your requirement is. You are supposed to use scenario planning and explain how the proposal to diversify into sodium mining could be evaluated by considering at least 3 possible scenarios. Okay, so different people within the board are carrying different opinions. So because of that, as per this requirement, you are supposed to consider all information at hand and consider 3 different scenarios and evaluate this strategic option. So when evaluating a strategic option, you can utilize the SAF framework, or when you are faced with multiple arguments, or when the decision makers are split about a certain strategic initiative, then you can opt for a scenario planning exercise. So as per a scenario planning exercise, you are supposed to look into 3 different scenarios, thereby conducting a holistic evaluation, considering all the information presented within this unseen. Okay, so let's look at how this student has approached this question. So this student has come up with 3 different scenarios as per what's highlighted within the requirement. The student has considered a best case scenario, something called a moderate scenario, and a worst case scenario. So this indicates the 3 scenarios. One of the scenarios which are considered out of the 3 scenarios indicate that there are gaps in theory knowledge. As you know, under scenario planning, according to the conceptual framework, you are supposed to consider 3 different scenarios which are known as the best case scenario. So this scenario is accurate. The worst case scenario, so what's highlighted in here, is accurate as well. However, there's no such moderate scenario. The 3rd scenario is known as the most probable scenario. So because of that, this scenario in its entirety is inaccurate. Okay, so that's why I said, if you don't know theory properly, you will come up with answers which are not aligned with theoretical concepts. If so, your answers will not be up to the required level of quality. So first things first, you need to know your theory. So there's a gap in theory knowledge looking at the 2nd scenario considered in here. And on top of that, the next step is to work on your application skills. So when working on your application skills, you need to say, okay, can I simply rely on the theoretical concept, or do I need to do something differently? Yes, I've learned what scenario planning is. It's a situation where we look at multiple angles with the intention of conducting an evaluation in the most holistic manner before we finalize the decision. So when doing so, usually you are supposed to consider 3 different scenarios which are known as the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and the most probable scenario. However, can we 100% use this tool, use this technique with the intention of evaluating each scenario at hand? For instance, out of the 3 scenarios, one is the most probable scenario. as per what's highlighted within this question, or as per what's highlighted within this unseen, it's specifically mentioned, it's clearly mentioned the fact that we are depending, if we are to go for this type of diversification, we are exposed to a lot of uncertainties. Why is this the case? Where is the scenario? Okay, why is this the case? Because sodium ion batteries are expected to be commercially available only by 2030. So we are not too certain about whether the demand, what type of a demand sodium ion technology or sodium ion batteries are going to have in the future, because we are still in the year 2025. And as per the predictions, sodium ion batteries are expected to be commercially available only by 2030. So there's a lot of uncertainty. When we are exposed to a lot of uncertainty, can we consider the most probable scenario? We can't, because we are not sure of what's going to happen. If we diversify into sodium mining, it carries the sodium which we are going to mine carries a derived demand, because the demand for sodium is dependent on the demand for sodium ion batteries. So if the demand of sodium ion batteries don't pick up, then we would have made investments with the intention of diversifying into sodium mining, but we are left stranded. So there's a lot of uncertainties. So when operating in such an environment, we cannot consider the most probable scenario. So that's exactly why you need to be conversant about applying your theoretical knowledge. Although the theoretical concept states that you need to consider three scenarios, which are the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and the most probable scenario. The most probable scenario is irrelevant to this unseen, because we are exposed to a lot of uncertainties. When dealing with uncertainties, we cannot be sure about the most probable scenario. Okay, so that's what I've highlighted in here. As mentioned earlier, there is no hard and fast rule in scenario planning that requires you to consider the best case, worst case, and most probable scenarios. For example, as per the unseen, it is difficult to determine the most probable scenario due to the uncertainties surrounding this diversification. Specifically, demand for sodium has a derived demand, as I mentioned earlier, as it depends on the success of sodium ion battery technology. Therefore, predicting the most probable scenario is challenging. So that is why I said you need to learn your theory, but you need to understand how to apply your theory, which is totally aligned with the information presented in the unseen. So as per the answer plan which we developed for this question, I consider three scenarios. Scenario number one is a situation where we invest on sodium mining and the demand for sodium batteries pick up. Okay, what happens if sodium batteries, the demand for sodium ion technology or sodium ion batteries pick up, and if we invest right now and if the demand picks up, what are we exposed to in the future? That's my first scenario. The second scenario is we invest on sodium mining and the demand does not pick up in the future. So if we invest right now and if the demand does not pick up, what are we exposed to? That is my second scenario. And the third scenario is a situation where we forego this investment. So if we forego this investment, we are exposed to a certain set of advantages as well as disadvantages. So, that's how you should approach these type of questions. Simply don't try to, develop highly theoretical answers. Instead, try to figure out, okay, yes, I've learned theory, but how can I apply theory with the intention of developing answers which are totally aligned with what's highlighted within each unseen. I highlighted a similar argument in the third webinar when I was teaching you answering and time management technique. In it, I took you through a question to do with stakeholder management. So under Mendelow's matrix, usually what you learn is the fact that the government carries a higher level of power but a low level of interest concerning how businesses are run. However, as per what was highlighted in mock exam 1, the government, yes, it carries a high level of power, and as per the newspaper article which I explained in the third webinar, the government carries a high level of interest as well. So usually As per the theoretical concept, the level of interest of the government is less. However, as per scenarios information, the interest of the government is high. So the way in which you come up with strategies to manage the government will be different to what's highlighted within the theoretical concept. So you need to learn your theory, but also you need to work on your application skills as well. So that's what I wanted to highlight. Yes. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time by taking you through the entire answer script. These are the main points which I intended to highlight because that's exactly what I explained previously as well. Okay, I hope you gained a good understanding of the type of shortcomings students face when attempting mock exams. Throughout this webinar and workshop series, I said that it's crucial for you to attempt mock exams under exam conditions with the intention of understanding your shortcomings, because when you understand your shortcomings, I said that you can take steps to overcome them when redeveloping answer plans or when conducting your revision. So once this student, understands what the shortcomings are, this student will never commit the same mistakes at the real exam. So that's exactly why I said there's absolutely no point of reading through mock exams and their suggested answers. Instead, you have to attempt them on your own to understand your shortcomings. And after understanding your shortcomings, you need to take steps to overcome them when redeveloping answer plans or when conducting your revision. Okay, so that's what I wanted to highlight. And having said that, before we move on to the mock exam discussion, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the SCS page. If you're yet to check the free content, click on this button and create a free user account. Via this free user account, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops which we conduct. And on top of that, you will gain access to the free mock exam, its suggested answer and the answer plan. And if you are interested to invest on our paid content, before you do so, check our sample material. And if you're yet to join the SCS WhatsApp discussion forum, click on this button and join it. Via this forum, we will be sharing free resources with you. And on top of that, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always raise them. And I'm always there to help you guys out to overcome your theory gaps or issues with application. And talking about what we offer two main packages, the value pack and the premium pack. The value pack is designed for those who are already conversant with OTQ syllabus elements. So if you have completed your OTQ E3, F3 and P3 OTQ syllabus elements, you already know your theory. So if so, it's simply a matter of simply improving your application skills. So focused on these type of students, we have developed the value pack, and the price is £299. And talking about the premium pack, we have developed the premium pack primarily focused on those who are coming through exemptions and those who had failed the SCS exam previously. Both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and application skills. So we have developed an additional set of resources and included them under the premium pack with the intention of teaching you theory and making sure that you improve your application skills. So the premium pack is priced at £899, which can be paid in 2 installments of £449 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you can save £100. If so, the price is just £799. So go through the set of resources which I've highlighted. And, if you are yet to start your preparations, invest on your preferred package and focus your attention towards succeeding in your upcoming SCS exam. And I want to quickly direct your attention towards the SCS study plan, because most of you are sticking to our 8-week original 8-week study plan. So as per the study plan, let's see what you're supposed to do. We are in week number 7. You are supposed to direct your attention towards or focus on mock number 6, mastering in mock number 6, which is your last mock exam. So you are supposed to attempt mock 6 via the exam platform under exam conditions. As you know, we have developed an exam platform which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you attempt your real examination. So attempt your exam under exam conditions with the intention of fine-tuning your answering, time management and stress management techniques. Also to understand what your shortcomings are. And after you have attempted the mock exam, watch the 3 master classes to learn theory and improve application. So we have developed master classes concerning each of the sections covered within mock number 6. So, after watching these masterclasses, you will learn each theoretical element covered within mock number 6, and also you'd understand how to work on your application. And once you have learned your theory and application, redevelop answer plans on your own, thereby trying to figure out whether you have gained something via the masterclasses, trying to figure out whether you are capable of structuring answers akin to TCS's answer plans. And also you will receive tutor feedback for mock number 6 within the same week. So once you receive tutor feedback, your job is to redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. You know what I'm talking about if you had already completed your 4th and 5th mock exams as per the study plan which we have provided. So master mock number 6 within this week. If so, in the last week, you can start relaxing. You are not supposed to attempt any mock exams, watch any master classes, or redevelop answer plans. Instead, it's simply a matter of referring to the answer plans. So this is as if you are going through the entire syllabus one last time closer to the exam, and also working on your application, reminding yourself about how to structure your answers, how to approach each syllabus element, and then reread the annotated pre-seen one last time to further refresh your memory of what appears within your pre-seen document. So you can start relaxing towards the last week if you get everything done within this week, where you are supposed to do your mock attempts, watch master classes, and redevelop answer plans on your own. Okay, so that's what we offer at TCS. So having said that, let's move on to the discussion of the mock exam concerning your E3 syllabus. So, I've forgotten to open a certain document which indicates the E3 syllabus elements which you have to be conversant when conducting your preparations. So let me pause the recording. I'll find this document and share the screen once more so that I can explain all these elements in depth. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks, thank you for being patient. So let's look at the syllabus elements concerning your E3 syllabus, which you have to be conversant with when conducting your preparations focused on the upcoming exam. So as I've mentioned earlier, a high level of prominence is provided towards your E3 syllabus because the E3 syllabus has everything to do with strategy development. So as the senior finance manager, that is one of your primary roles. So respective to or with regards to P3 and F3 syllabi, a high level of prominence is provided towards your E3 syllabus. So first things first, you need to understand how to evaluate different strategic options. So you need to know your SAF framework using different types of tools to evaluate different strategic options. So you have to be conversant with how to use scenario planning to do this, as I mentioned in today's session, and how to use the SAF or suitability, acceptability, and feasibility framework when evaluating strategic options. Also, you have to be conversant with how each strategic option is aligned or not with our vision, mission, and values. So when evaluating each strategic option, you need to think about, okay, whether each option is aligned with our vision, mission, and values or not. So with these things in mind, you have to attempt mock exams which test your understanding about strategic options using tools such as scenario planning and the SAF framework, and whether each option is aligned with our mission, vision, and values. And also at the exam, your knowledge pertaining to diversification will be tested. It could be something tied to vertical integration or us entering into a new market. So, these elements are covered within our mock exams. And purchasing options, when it comes to when we are faced with different types of options or purchasing options, how to deal with them, how to tackle them, and how to deal with acquisitions, how to deal with disclosure legislation, especially given the fact that we are placing a higher level of importance towards sustainability, and shareholder concerns, concerning a share price drop or some type of an issue faced by the company or some type of an opportunity which the company is trying to exploit. So considering all these elements, shareholder concerns will be tested at the exam, and how a share price drop will impact the operations of the company, or how it will impact the long-term direction, or how it will impact the board. All these things can be tested. And also your knowledge pertinent to tools such as competitor analysis, especially which are used to used when we are trying to acquire a company. So all these things will be tested at the exam, and we have made sure to cover all these elements which are tied to strategy, evaluation, and formulation within our mock exams. Also, you have to know how to deal with board responsibilities. So what the board should do when managing system incompatibility, especially given the fact that such incompatibilities are highlighted within your pre-seen document. As you know, we are using different type of systems when operating our processing plants in a remote fashion. When doing so, we might be exposed to system incompatibility. So how the board should react, what the board should do to manage these type of incompatibilities if you are faced with them. These elements will be tested at the exam, and information pertinent to some type of an issue or an opportunity which we are trying to exploit, which impacts our internal business environment, will be tested at the exam. If so, the board should be capable of managing these internal affairs in a successful manner. And sometimes when we are trying to do something new, when we are diversifying, or when we are moving into a new market, it will impact our business ecosystem, and how these changes will affect us. You need to be conversant with how to tackle these type of questions. And when we are trying to do something new, we are exposed to change management issues. Then the board should be conversant about how to manage these changes, and at the same time understand or be capable of managing resistance to change, and dealing with different types of stakeholders, and how to manage these stakeholders, how to conduct disciplinary action, and what to do with regards to appointing a risk manager, what's the rationale behind it, and what type of responsibilities such a risk manager should possess and or carry out, and appointing a board committee, something to do with sustainability, because there's no such board committee within our company which is tied to sustainability. So your knowledge will be tested in this area. And also appointing a board committee tied to IT or IS, because there's no clear leadership within our board tied to IT or IS. So we can make sure that we are managing these affairs successfully by appointing a board committee. So all these elements which are tied to board responsibilities will be tested at your exam. And you have to be also conversant with corporate governance and ethics. So board accountability. So in your scenario, there will be information shared with you, which indicates some type of an action the board is taking. So based on the information presented, you have to have the capability to highlight whether the board is accountable for something or not. And information pertinent to directors' remuneration will be presented, and you need to see whether we are handling affairs appropriately, thereby falling in line with corporate governance and ethical behavior when stipulating directors' remuneration. And there will be instances where your knowledge pertinent to how to deal with board restructures will be tested at the exam. And what should we do when appointing an executive director or a non-executive director? What are the pros and cons of appointing an executive director or a non-executive director for a certain position within the company? Then what to do with dismissing a director. When we are trying to dismiss a director, what are we supposed to do? How to deal with chairman's actions, because there are specific guidelines provided under corporate governance best practices tied to chairman's actions, how to deal with chairman's actions. These will be tested at your exam. And also your knowledge pertaining to ethics will be tested, especially tied to lobbying, because there's a way in which we should lobby in an ethical manner. And your knowledge pertaining to ethics tied to sustainability disclosures will be tested at the exam. So these are the elements which fall under the E3 syllabus, and we have made sure to cover all these elements when developing our mock exams. So I want to direct your attention towards mock exam 1, and I'm going to discuss a question which appears within section number 1, subtask B, which is tied to director's remuneration or director's bonuses. Okay, so let's read through the question. So section number 1, the time allocation is 60 minutes. I'm not going to read through all this information because I've covered this question previously. So let's primarily focus our attention towards the second subtask. The CEO lauded Dr. Andre for his exemplary efforts in introducing new technology. Shaista expressed the board her intention to propose to the remuneration committee that Andre be granted a bonus tied to his performance, acknowledging the value of his contribution to the company's success. So our CEO is happy with what Dr. Andre had done within the company. So because of that, she is proposing the remuneration committee to grant a bonus to Dr. Andre. So what is your requirement? You are supposed to evaluate the CEO's suggestion with regards to the bonus. So let's try to figure out how to tackle this type of a question. So your first step after reading through the scenario is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So I've simplified it as director's bonus. So we are trying to pay a bonus via the remuneration committee as per what's highlighted within the unseen. So how are we supposed to deal with it? So that's why I've simplified this requirement as director's bonus. And then the next step is to understand how many marks are allocated for this subtask. The weightage provided is 20%. So 20% of 50 marks come up to 10 marks in total. As you know, each section is allocated with 50 marks in total. So 20% of 50 marks is 10 marks. And each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So in order to gain full marks, you need to come up with 3 to 5 valid points within this answer plan. So if you come up with 3 valid points each, in which each valid point carries 3 marks, 3 into 3 comes up to something like 9. Or if you come up with 5 valid points, thinking that each valid point carries 2 marks, 5 into 2 comes up to 10 marks in total. So you have to come up with 3 to 5 valid points within this answer plan. All right, so let's try to understand what you need to cover within the answer. So I've come up with a main heading, which goes as director's bonus, which is in bold and underline format. So with regards to paying Andre a bonus, we are trying to recognize exemplary leadership, which should be the case. We should make sure that we remunerate the individuals who are contributing effectively to the company's performance. If so, the motivation will increase, and with this increased motivation levels, they will be loyal to the company and they'll keep doing good things, which will impact our performance in a successful manner, or which will impact our performance in a positive manner. And as per what our CEO is suggesting, she's saying that we should handle this process via the remuneration committee. So the CEO is not saying that we need to simply pay a bonus to Andre. The CEO is suggesting, specifically mentioned within this scenario, Shaista expressed the board her intentions to propose to the remuneration committee that Andre be granted a bonus. So she is highlighting the fact that we should ask the remuneration committee to consider whether we should pay a bonus or not, and we should ask them to actually pay a bonus to Andre. So this process is handled by the remuneration committee, and when considering the remuneration committee, as per what's highlighted within your E3 syllabus under corporate governance, you have to think about the composition of the remuneration committee, and as per what's highlighted within your pre-seen document, non-executive directors dominate our remuneration committee. So it makes sense for us to ask the remuneration committee to handle this process because non-executive directors dominate. Because of that, we are falling in line with corporate governance guidance. And when we do so, our shareholders as well as other stakeholders will be extremely satisfied with the way in which we run our affairs. And the bonus's relevance when we ask the remuneration committee to handle affairs, the bonus's relevance will be evaluated. So the remuneration committee is there to think about or evaluate executive compensation. So they will check and see whether the findings which are presented by the CEO is accurate. If so, by how much our performance has improved due to Andre's contribution, and aligned with it, by how much we should either increase the compensation, increase the salaries, or opt for a bonus. So in this instance, we are thinking about a bonus. So the bonus's relevance will be evaluated by the remuneration committee when we ask them to handle matters. And this increases transparency and fairness of executive compensation, which will impact our reputation in a positive manner, which will satisfy our shareholders, and therefore it aligns with our shareholder interests, because the shareholders, one of the objectives of appointing non-executive directors to a certain board is to make sure that shareholder interests are represented. Also, the objective of appointing different committees is to make sure that we look into certain corporate governance related elements of the company in an independent manner. Why would or how would this type of independence come into play? Because we are asking, we have to make sure that when appointing each committee, non-executive directors, we have to make sure that non-executive directors dominate each of these committees. So when non-executive directors dominate decision making, then it will impact our governance outlook in a positive manner. Thereby, we are in a position to align ourselves with the interests of our shareholders. However, we might face some issues as well, because when conducting an evaluation, you need to look at positives as well as negatives. So we are directing our attention towards the type of issues we might face. Some shareholders will definitely question the bonus because executives are already well paid. So if that is the case, they will say why, they will question as to why we need to pay additional bonuses when they are already paid really well. So definitely, when we are suggesting a bonus or when we are suggesting a salary increase, there will be a set of shareholders. There will be a minority, definitely, but there will be a set of shareholders who would say, okay, look here, don't waste money, instead pay us dividends. Okay, so some shareholders will question the bonus, and we might be faced with discontent among other board members. So Dr. Andre will definitely be happy with the bonus, but other board members might not be too happy to see that one of their own is getting a bonus, whereas we are not getting a bonus. So when we are paying a bonus to Dr. Andre, we are recognizing individual contributions, overlooking collective effort. So the company's performance definitely increases due to individual contributions as well as collective effort. So some board members might say, okay, look here, you guys are remunerating this individual. However, we as a board collectively work towards improving the performance of the company. So if this mindset is there within the board, then the other board members might not be too satisfied with us paying a bonus focused on just Dr. Andre. And to fix these issues, it's best that we develop a communication strategy, thereby explaining the rationale behind individual bonuses. Because if we address this concern, and if we explain the rationale behind individual bonuses, we are taking steps to manage the discontent among other board members. And also, it makes sense for us to explain the alignment of this bonus payment with our corporate goals. If so, the shareholders will be satisfied as well. Those who are opposing this, when they are presented with appropriate information, they might not oppose it in the future. Also, it's best that we review our compensation structure to incentivize teamwork, especially focused on managing the discontent which might arise due to us recognizing individual contributions when the entire board comes together when running the business. Okay, so that's how you should approach this type of a question tied to directors' bonuses. So I hope you have gained something. You have gained a good understanding of how to structure this type of a question. And I've brought in theoretical elements. So what's highlighted within your E3 syllabus, primarily tied to corporate governance. I said that when going for a bonus, the remuneration committee should handle it. and the non-executive director should dominate the remuneration committee. And if bonuses are handled by the remuneration committee, how it will impact our relationships as well as internal operations. And then I've worked on application. I've also highlighted certain issues we might face due to this bonus. And at the same time, I've highlighted what we need to do to overcome these issues in a practical sense. So that's exactly what you need to achieve at your real exam as well. Okay, so having said that, I'm happy to say that we achieved a 90% pass rate in the previous session, which was focused on the SCS exams, which happened in November 2024. So those who stick to our study plan, stick to our 3-step process, were extremely successful at their real examination. So you can achieve a similar feat if you stick to our study process, the 3-step study process, which is to attempt a mock exam under exam conditions, then watch master classes to learn theory and improve application. So just like how I explained the question tied to directors' bonuses, I've explained all the questions which appear within the 6 mock exams. So these are the master classes. This is exactly how we conduct master classes. So once you have watched the master classes, you will understand how to approach theory. You will learn theory, and at the same time, how to approach application. And at the same time, you'd understand how to structure each answer. And the third step is to revise on your own, thereby redeveloping answer plans. After you have redeveloped answer plans, compare them to TCS's answer plans and see whether you are in a position to replicate a similar methodology. If so, you would be successful at your real examination. Having said that, I'm moving on to the Q&A. So I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks, thank you very much for those questions. I love it when you are asking a lot of questions, and I hope I addressed everything and you gained a good understanding of what you need to do when conducting your preparations in the upcoming 2 weeks. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Go to our website and click on the contact button and drop your message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you. And if you want to email us, you can do it via info@study@tcs.com and WhatsApp us on this number. And I invite you guys to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of the webinars and workshops are uploaded to our YouTube handle. One of you were asking a question to do with, Forex risk mitigation strategies. So as I mentioned earlier, we covered a similar question in last week's workshop concerning your F3 syllabus. So go watch the recorded version via our YouTube handle, and you can watch the same video via our student dashboard under the free and paid content as well. Also, subscribe to our TikTok handle so that you'd gain access to a set of videos, which is a good mind map of the entire pre-scene. So in the upcoming weeks, keep watching these TikToks over and over with the intention of reminding yourself about what appears within your pre-scene document. So having said that, it brings us to the end of the workshop. I hope you gain something out of this session, and I want you guys to keep fighting, because in these last weeks, it's quite normal for you to feel discouraged, for you to feel stressed. And on top of that, even if you're sticking to the study process in a successful manner, you'd start doubting yourself. It's quite normal. I can remember me as a student, I felt the same way, irrespective of whether I've done my job, conducted my preparations or not. There's always a tendency to think that you have not done enough. You will always try to refer back to your own notes, study texts and whatnot. Don't deviate from the plan. Stick to our 3-step study process and keep fighting, keep moving forward, because if you do so, you can start relaxing in the next week. If so, you'll be extremely successful at your real exam. So stick to the process. If you have any questions or concerns, if you're feeling doubtful, don't worry. Drop me a message. I will get in touch with you via WhatsApp and address all your questions and concerns. So I hope to see you guys next week, Saturday at 10 a.m., in which I'm going to share last-minute tips with you. Thank you for joining. Take care.